everybody. Joker of Scotland here. Decided to bring back an old thing that I like to call Gladly Gothic Reviews. So, last couple of days I have seen a total of 4 films. So there's quite a bit to talk about here. I guess I could go back to the start of the last 2 days, certainly well, the last week, and describe the last 4 films for you. Just give you my sort of general overall thoughts on what I've seen and blah 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 blah. Because I mean, today was the big day for us Batman fans. I finally saw it, so your days don't count. Your opening day kind of thing. No, it's about me. It's my show. So let's go back. The other day, it was a horror double bill in which I got to see The Witch and 10 Cloverfield Lane. Now, we opened with The Witch because we were thinking 10 Cloverfield is the bigger film. And it literally is. It's the much bigger film. It's the one that probably more people are going to be going to see. But The Witch, this is embarrassing. It's the first film that I have ever turned up late for. So, a little bit of embarrassment. We show up there and we're tripping over bags and shit, getting into our seating, etc. But, yeah. Overall, The Witch was, how do I describe it? It was a very, very unsettling horror film, to say the least, anyway. So, a little bit of plot and backstory. I knew nothing about this movie going into it, so I was very curious as to what it was going to be about and what, pray tell, The Witch would be in regards to. So, set in 1600 Puritan times, it follows a family that's isolated themselves from one of the other, God, what do you call that? One of the other folks, group of folks that have landed in America and settlements, there you go. I think that's the word anyway. But yeah, so it is following a family that's isolated themselves from a settlement. They're trying to make it on their own as a farm, etc. You can see their own farmhouse is a little bit dilapidated. They're in the process of trying to get the ball rolling. And their eldest daughter takes their youngest little baba out to the edge of the woods just for some playtime. I don't know why he chose the edge of the woods to do it. I mean, that's never going to end well, is it? I mean, I get that these people haven't seen horror films or any films whatsoever because it's set in the 1600s, so they don't really have myths and legends. And yeah, one comes to bite them in the ass. She's give it a old peekaboo thing, and baby's gone. And you'd think they'd play a little bit of a cat and mouse with us, but no, they just go straight for the balls to the wall kind of thing. Now, I do advise you, I'm going to be extremely spoiler heavy in these kind of reviews. So, you know, yeah, it's going to happen. I'm going to spoil everything. So, we see a cloaked figure running off into the woods, and I'm like, okay, is that the daughter? I can't tell. Don't think she was wearing a cloak. And what should mine eyes behold but a baby by a fire with a knife being held to it? And I thought, alright, is she going to harm the baby? Is she going to cook the baby? Or is this just threatening imagery that the film is going to use for a cheap payoff later on? No. Diced baby. We don't get to see that, but what we do see then is said naked old woman. Always a plus. We see her using the old butter churner, not the good one, not the one that everyone likes. No one, yeah, not this kind of butter churner. No, it's kind of got a bit of a wetness and a bit of a crunch to it as well. So if you put 2 and 2 together, you begin to think that could be the baby, that could be something else. No, it's a baby. She is bathing herself in the blood and such. So, yeah, a little bit on the creepy side. Got back to the family, and they're just in a little bit of denial. The father says, look, the kid's probably dead by now, so we're to gather it's to be a couple of days to a week or so, maybe a little bit more. It's not really specified, at least I don't think it was anyway, because they talk in 1600s language, which I adored about the film. I thought that was wonderful, well done, very well done movie. But there's also the whole sort of factor that you have a little bit of a language curve to get around. You kind of have to make some twists and turns there. You have to feel the walls, really, to know where you're going down this passageway. So yeah, baby's been gone. Daddy says it's a wolf, and the kids are less inclined to believe it. They say it was Witch of the Woods, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, supernatural or not, it's a goddamn, it's a hag, it's a monster that did this. But then there's sort of strange happenings, like when the dad's taking the son out for hunting. They mention things like the mother hasn't been sleeping, just crying all night. So I'm like, again, bonus points with sanity kind of thing. That's why I'm thinking, okay, if we're to go along the sort of route where it's all in their heads or some such nonsense, I'm like, well, the mother hasn't been sleeping, and it was the baby, so I'm already inclined to think this could just be madness. Then we see like a little brown hair, and you're given unusual vibes by its brown hair, and it keeps popping up in the movie. And yes, it is almost indefinitely supernatural because they're just they're very unsettling to the family. It's very creepy. They got creepy twins that talk to a black horned ram. It's like you're begging for bad things to happen. And yeah, the eldest daughter and son go off into the woods for hunting just to help out their father a little bit. And yeah, they see that evil little fucker of a rabbit. The horse goes bananas. The dog chases after it. The son chases the dog. The daughter falls and hits her head. So it's all a great big calamity. And the father goes out looking for them, shouting their names. Son, daughter, I can't remember. So yeah, the son happens to come across a nice set of knockers, a very buxom wench, so shall we say, and she's all cloaked, and I'm thinking, boy, don't do it. Stay away, stay away. She grabs him for a kiss, and I'm thinking, okay, anti-bad touch is in the house, and then she got an old hag hand that grabs him, and so just, ooh, it's looking bad, it's looking pretty bad. And then things escalate because one of the fucking little nasty twins says to the father, oh, yeah, big sis, yeah, she's been talking to the devil, daddy. She's a witch. And the daughter's like, I was just telling a fib to these little fuckers to get them to go away. But no, 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 no. It all starts escalating. Their son turns up there naked. And a whole fucking dead apple or something comes out of his mouth. And he's all saying a bunch of juba jabba kind of bullshit. And just passes and dies. Mother and daddy go ballistic, or more mama does. Daddy's trying to be rational, trying to be very rational of a dad. Even sort of tending to the daughter, being like, look, I know your mum's been a cunt to you and all that, so, but don't worry, it'll pass. He nails all the children into like their little barn with the goats, and I was like, oh no, and the kids are talking to the goat, and I'm like, oh no. The mother has a weird vision of the dead son and baby, asking her to look at a book that's in front of her, and I'm like, okay, okay. Meanwhile, in the barn, there's like sort of rustling and twigs snapping around it, so I'm like, well, fuck, shit's going down. Shit is going down. The mother is suckling the baby, and I'm thinking, oh no, what's this really going to be? Meanwhile, the kids are like talking to one of their goats, going, oh, what's wrong? And it's an old hag suckling a goat. She turns and laughs. We cut away from that, cut back to the mother, with a bird pecking at her nips. Lovely. So yeah, that's where that goes. Dad gets up in the morning, dead goats, no babas to be found, just the eldest daughter. The goat fucking charges him and stabs him in the belly. Logs and all that shit fall on him. I should mention he was praying to God to punish him and not his children, so he kind of brought this on himself a little bit. Mama goes bananas, trying to kill the eldest daughter, thinking she's the one behind it all. Eldest daughter has to smash her own mama's skull in. Then she begs to the goat, saying, like, talk to me like you do to my brother and sister. And I was thinking, okay, she's a little bit crazy, and then we hear a voice. So, Goatman's evil. That's the devil. That goat was the fucking devil the whole time, and I thought he was a red herring, red goat, red goatling, red kid. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's the devil, and she becomes a witch and joins a little naked blood dance party coven. So yeah, that was The Witch. It was one fucked up little raid. I loved it. It was a delightful fucked up raid, but it's my delightful little fucked up raid, and I adored every little second of it. So for that, I would say I definitely recommend The Witch for some spooky, unsettling viewing. Just gonna take a little break now to get myself a drink, perhaps a cup of tea. We'll see. And then I'll be returning with 10 Cloverfield Lane for you, delightful people. Alright, so now let's talk about 10 Cloverfield. Now, this is a film that I had some apprehensions towards going into it because even though they say it's a blood relative to Cloverfield, I knew what the film was going into it. I knew that it wasn't originally a Cloverfield film and that they had added some material to make it a Cloverfield film. Well, if you want to see any of the parts that are Cloverfield about it, then I suggest you just skip to the last 5 minutes. That's it. And it's not executed terribly. Ooh, it's not executed terribly well. Pardon me. But yeah, aside from that, the overall experience of the film is grand. It is something spectacular. A really good, just old style thriller. Not like really jump scary or anything, more just like genuinely intimidating, and that is just down to John Goodman being holy fuck one of the best actors I've seen in a thriller type movie in a long time. Mr. Goodman is horrifyingly unsettling. oh, oh my. I mean, the way he can just switch at the drop of a hat, it's mad. But oh my god, performances, everything. It's like an episode of The Twilight Zone. It keeps you guessing about what's really going on. Is the girl being lied to by John Goodman, or is he serious, or is it a bit of both? So it's really something if you really like that whole sort of old style suspense and mystery about things. I mean, I don't really know how much to describe it in terms of like plot and details. I mean, there's something that has happened, and this girl's ended up in John Goodman's bunker for safety, he says. Then we notice things like it was his car that hit her car and took it off the road. So there's just all kinds of little things we go, this doesn't seem right. Like bits and pieces of his story don't add up, and you begin to wonder, is he just paranoid? But then you've seen effects of the outside. So you know bad things have happened. You know there was something that happened, but you just it's really quite thrilling. It's wonderful. I wish I could go into more detail about it, but I can't. I need to get to the big main one. Cloverfield Lane, I would give a solid 4 out of 5, just mainly for the overall experience. I mean, the ending was horribly tacked on. I'll say that much. But then I don't want that one bad grape to ruin my wine. I don't want that to sour my overall experience. So, for me personally, I want to see the film for the overall ride, and I loved it. Thought it was great. 4 out of 5 for that, and I'd say around about the same for The Witch. That was a solid 4 out of 5 as well. But now, here is what everyone wants to hear. My thoughts on Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice sponsor. Now, there's been a lot of different opinions about this film going around. It's been very divisive. I've noticed that just from the outset with all of the reviews. It has just been one of those films that no one can seem to actually make their mind up about. I mean, we have praise from fans, we have hate from critics, we have hate from fans, we have love, no, not really love, no, critics don't really like this at all, but even fans are polarised on it. For me, I had a little bit of assistance and etc. before going to see it because I wanted to make sure I was loosened up, I wasn't going to overanalyze it, I wasn't going to overthink it, but man, it just, I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. Because very much like with Cloverfield Lane, I went in and I just wanted to let the whole experience of the film navigate me. And the whole experience of this film was that I really enjoyed it. Except it was bloody bonkers as well, though, I need to say that. This film is insane. It is diabolically insane. There are parts of it that work so well, and then other parts where you just go, what the fuck is going on? I'm it's a mad scientist's experiment. It is a Frankenstein of a movie. It's so all over the map. But if I'm talking about my good points first, I will say Ben Affleck first and foremost. My God, excellent as Batman, excellent as Bruce Wayne. Affleck nailed this part. He was just all kinds and rounds of fantastic. You can't really get past that. He was very much a guiding star in this movie, but man oh man, I don't know what they're doing to our superheroes right now. I guess it's part of this like darker edge of them, which I guess is where a lot of people had their issues with it, which is almost like there's times where Batman straight up murders people. In the film, spoilers, major goddamn spoilers. Batman is taken to branding people now. So Batman's gone pretty dark. Like this is a Batman 20 years into his career. This is beyond fights with the Joker, etc. The only nod and reference we get to the Joker is the Robin suits that we see in the trailer. So any scenes with him, I suppose, were left on a cutting room floor, and we might get them in DVD extras or whatever. But yeah, this is a Batman that has been through some shit. This is taking place a year and a half after the events of Man of Steel at the end, so it's like nearly 2 years beyond like Superman leveling Metropolis. But Batman kills people. Batman kills a good many people in this film. And some of that was during one of the many dream sequences in this film. And I thought, okay, that's why he's using a gun and shooting people. There's times where Batman is straight up blowing up cars, crushing cars, people still inside them, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, Batman! What the hell? But then, if you're going to criticize him for that, you might as well criticize Michael Keaton's Batman for all the murder and that. Michael Keaton throws a guy down a fucking tower and blows up another guy. And sets someone on fire. So I don't know. I'm not willing to give one Batman a free pass and not the other, as far as I'm concerned. If we're going to do a universe where Batman is allowed to kill, which he has done in the comics before, let's not pretend Batman hasn't killed in the comics. In his early days, very, very early days, Batman carried a gun. So we need to remember this. It's part of his history. Granted, the character has evolved and changed over the years, but we need to understand that, look, things can happen. This is a different artist's interpretation of Batman. We need to be understanding of that. Much like how now, in retrospect, I need to look back at Man of Steel and be like, well, okay, this is a different Superman. A very depressed Superman, but a very different Superman. It's astounding how much they try to make... Well, I don't think they try to make you like Superman, but it just doesn't happen. I'm sorry. He is so self-righteous in his own ways, and I guess you could say the same for Batman as well. So it's a good argument of like, well, who is more flawed in these movies, because they're both equally flawed. Batman isn't willing to forgive, isn't willing to forget, and is so determined in his point of view where it's his own downfall. Same with Superman. Superman is so self-righteous and so madly in love with Lois Lane and his own family, where it becomes like his biggest downfall. It's his detriment. What's interesting though is that it's more like it's not exactly Batman versus Superman. It's more like Batman doesn't like Superman. Superman doesn't like Batman. They have a wee bust up and then they call it even, because like Batman is the unrational one. Like here, like Superman has to fight Batman for a reason. We find out in the film, and I was like, okay, so it's all Luthor's doing. He is the one that causes everything to happen. And that's something to talk about. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor is a very different Lex Luthor from what we've ever seen before. I didn't see too much genius from him. He mostly seemed to be spouting like not quite techno babble, but along those kinds of lines, and he had a lot of nervousness and energy to him. Like he would just like sort of laugh at inappropriate moments. He had a very different, strange energy to him, and I thought, okay, it's a very unique performance, but it's just when you compare that to Batman and Superman and the way they behave in the movie, it's a little bit jarring. Like it's strange to see someone that is that megalomaniac, megalomaniacal. Yes, yeah. So see someone that's that megalomaniacal. That's such a fun word to try and say. And just that sort of kind of like way that he does it, and you're just like, this is interesting. Doesn't really seem to fit here, but all right, you just kind of go with it. And yeah, Superman actually it's strange. I never thought I'd be like, well, I mean, I'll tell you one thing. It's fun to see Batman kick Superman's ass, but I never thought I'd be the one to be like, oh, Batman, just chill, listen for a second. Superman actually comes to him and tries to explain, okay, so this is what's happening. He wants me to kill you and fight you, but I don't want to do that. And then Batman just goes for it. And I'm just like, oh, dude. Could have been avoided, but oh well. So it happens. But there's just, oh my god, there's so many strange moments in this film as well. I keep going off track. I can't really focus on one topic because that's the movie as well. The movie can't really focus. There's a lot of bizarre, absurd dream sequences. We do get the standard Batman flashback as well, so hooray, always good to see. But just overall, I'm people will probably, I don't know, some people will praise me, some people will hate me for saying this, but this movie owes a lot to Ang Lee's Hulk. I mean, again, bizarro fucking dream sequences, weird orchestral over the top fights. It's so nutty. And then you throw something like Doomsday into the mix, and then Wonder Woman shows up, and it's, I mean, I could see why it's the dawn of justice. I can tell you that much. They plant the seeds for the Justice League movie in a very subtle and nice way. It's not like they try to throw too many eggs into one basket, but they kind of are at the same time. It's a really awkward juggling act to watch. Overall, I enjoyed this film. I really did. Performance-wise, it was mostly Affleck and Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Those were the two shining stars of the film for me. Really, Cavill was a good wooden board. Eisenberg was a puppy that needed to be put down. There's a little bit too much going on in the film overall. I don't know. It's a very surreal experience to describe. I mean, there are parts of it that felt very Watchmen because obviously Zack Snyder's involvement there. But yeah, the film was just such a strange journey. I really wish I knew a good way how to put it. I mean, let's say I liked it, but it needs a couple more viewings because I went to the bathroom at one moment where I thought, okay, I'm not going to miss anything. I come back and Luthor's giving a bath to Zod's corpse, and I thought, oh, alright. Wasn't quite sure what was going on there, but I just thought, let's go with this. But yeah, so it's a little bit on the strange side, but again, overall I liked it. That's not to say I loved it or thought it was great or anything. I liked it overall. I like this Batman a lot. This Batman is excellent, and I'm very curious to see where they go with the future installments of this universe. I guess you can't really see franchise or series because they're trying to do the interconnected thing that everyone wants to do these days. But I'll tell you one thing, I'm very hyped for Lego Batman. I saw the trailer for that, and that looks more like my kind of film. But yeah, so Dawn of Justice, I guess I would have to go along the 2.5 out of 5 kind of mark. If we disallowed half stars, I don't know, it's a bit of a pendulum between 2 and 5 because like I say, the film is a little bit all over the map. It's so hard of a film to judge and critique properly because
it's just so strange. It's like you can only pick and choose moments that you liked about it. I mean, the overall experience, let's say, was enjoyable, but it's so surreal at the same time. But that's my thoughts on that. Now, last film I saw, just there before coming home from the cinemas, was The Boy. All I knew about this film was a doll that is treated like a person. Didn't know what I was getting into. I was very happy to see Lauren Cohen of The Walking Dead.
Because she's just fantastic. For those who don't know, that's the girl that plays Maggie. She was very fantastic in this film. It's again, I wasn't sure where it was going with it. It seems like your standard haunted doll kind of thing, but she's the one smart thing that I thought was like, all right, if this is a genuinely haunted doll, well done. She goes, all right, so you want me to follow the rules? I'll follow the rules. That's it, and just starts living with the doll, playing by the rules. And I'm like, well done. You're the first smart woman in a horror film. You actually decide, all right, well, I'm just going to not cause any more trouble and ignore the doll anymore, and I'm just going to follow the rules, like look after you like you're a boy. And I was like, well played, madam. Then, of course, conflict happens. Her ex-husband or something shows up, causes a bit of a ruckus, smashes a fucking doll, and I was like, oh bitch, what have you done? All the walls and shit start rattling, a mirror explodes in his face, and I thought, fucking hell. Then we hear like a little boy's voice, and you're like, okay, what are we getting here? See a fucking like pale mask type face coming out the wall, and I figured, oh fuck, living dead doll. Oh no, he's not been dead. The son that they thought were dead was actually alive the whole time and has been living in the walls. So it's a little bit like an Annabelle meets People Under the Stairs kind of story. I was like, oh, so it never was haunted. She's just been getting spied on by like a 28-year-old man in a fucking like wall watching her all this time, and I'm just like, ugh. And he's got a doll made to be like her in the basement, and I'm just like, oh, you fucking creep. But uh, yeah, it's a weird fucking film that I don't know. I mean, with a twist, I thought I quite enjoyed it because I thought I was getting just a haunted doll movie, but no, it turns out, let's say, People Under the Stairs, essentially. Yeah, I just that was a very interesting one. It certainly like cleared my head after like Dawn of Justice just to have like a focused movie. I'm sorry, but yeah, it was very interesting. That I would probably have to go with a three, a weak three, but a 3 out of 5. I liked it. So yeah, that's it for my Gladly Gothic reviews for this week. I hope to catch you soon for another installment. I'm going to start doing more of these again. Probably going to do things like Loot Crate unboxings and such. I need to get back into the spirits of being creative again, so I feel this is a good way to do so. But until next time, I shall catch you all soon.